I'd like to call the meeting to order. Begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, we call on the roll, please.
Councilperson Thacker.
Here.
Councilperson Wager.
Here.
Councilperson Dees. Here. Councilperson Norris.
Here.
Councilperson Wilson.
Here.
Councilperson Thompson.
Here.
Councilperson Loudermilk.
Here. Thank you. Moving on, open up this portion of our meeting for public comment. Ask that comments be limited to items that are on tonight's agenda. And those that would like to make public comment, please approach the podium, state your name for the record, and sign in with the sheet provided. Is it really? Well, good for you.
Is this where the paper you wish me to sign?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. Thank you for making this privilege available to me. My name is Barbara Ader. I live in the East End of Terre Haute. This is my second time of being a citizen, so altogether I have lived 20 or 25 years. It's very obvious I like Terre Haute. I love the educational colleges and just the atmosphere in general. I grew up on a small farm in central Illinois. And my dad was a small farmer. He also had a wonderful business of doing small repairs. I didn't realize until I reached young adulthood the realization of how dependent on county roads for work and for pleasure every single day that my dad was. Farmers, rural school bus routes, mail carriers, and many other services were dependent on the county roads and the local infrastructure. For a few years as a licensed medical social worker, I averaged driving 1,000 miles every 3 to 4 weeks, always on county roads. Roadways being closed due to drainage issues caused by outdated and poorly maintained culverts and ditches can prevent the delivery of badly needed services to individuals who live in the country. It was maddening to go out and try to reach someone that you knew needed help and you weren't able to get there to give it to them. Thus, very recently, even though I'm retired, I still take an interest in what's going on in an area that I worked in for years. Thus, very recently, after watching an excellent newscast on a local channel regarding the serious deterioration of over 200 culverts on county roads in Vigo and surrounding counties, my concern would not go away because I remembered the years when I was doing that and the good feeling it gave me to meet the needs of people who were loyal citizens, hardworking, and loved America. A registered nurse who does county work detected my genuine concern. So she invited me approximately 3 months ago to go with her to make one of her calls. And then she said, after we make the call, We'll drive down this country road, that country road, another country road, and we'll find a culvert, or two, or three. We'll find the ditches and the bridges. And dear people, I want you to know, I didn't see this on television. I didn't read it in a book. I saw it with my own eyes. It is shocking, the serious deterioration of our culverts. Now, can you imagine a farmer with a heavy tractor and a heavy piece of equipment going over a culvert that has a pile of crumbled concrete laying on the ground with the side of what's left of the structure? I can, and it scares me. Tax-paying citizens expect this board to address these very serious concerns. In my opinion, there is no reasonable excuse that any one of you can give these citizens if you vote no to funding the repair and maintenance work on culverts, ditches, and infrastructure. I understand that money is available to you through the American Recovery Act. Money is there. Hopefully, after listening to my few minutes of reliving how my life has been lived, delivering services to farmers and other citizens will leave no doubt on the importance, please, of your voting yes to approve funds for the repairs or the replacement of these culverts. I sincerely thank you for your time and for listening to me.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council?
I had to share a moment because my dad was a physical therapist that did home health care for years. And he did the same thing. He drove a lot of the country roads and absolutely loved it. So I know that you probably really loved the people you worked with, and I really appreciate that, and especially in the rural need for health care in our community. And I did support some of the work for the roads, so thank you, I appreciate it.
Councilwoman Wilson? Oh, you're
No,
fine, you're fine.
that's quite all right. I am a farm wife, so I totally concur with what you're saying. And I totally believe that there are culverts that need addressed. I firmly believe that. And opening that door, as a council, we've pretty much decided that we're going to stand firm on the ARP money. First of all, is not a free gift from the government. I want to make that clear. It's taxpayer dollars that are coming back to the communities, and they're to be spent on a wide range of a high percentage of the county this money should be used for the highest percentage of the county to benefit them. I fully believe the culverts are one of the projects that need to be addressed. I completely agree with that. The issue that I have is the commissioners were tasked with presenting a comprehensive plan for the full $20 million. And I've taken the liberty of contacting several counties around the state who have commissioners that are working well with the council in putting together such a plan. I've got a copy of Delaware County ARPA plan. You can pass those down if you want to. I've got some for the commissioners. It's very well detailed, very well lined out. If the commissioners are having a difficult time, maybe they could use this as a model to present a comprehensive plan for that $20 million. It is very explicit. It even says in here, this plan is a working, breathing document that will be constantly updated and changed as the needs present themselves. But it has a plan for every dollar of the money of the ARPA money that this county received. It's very thorough. It tells exactly what years each portion of the project is planned. It's very detailed, very well written, and it's something that I believe it would satisfy the council to move forward. For some of these projects, if the culverts are one of the projects that the commissioners put forward, rather than piecemealing this project, we need a comprehensive plan that incorporates the whole $20 million. Yes, ma'am. I understand that. And the other thing is, I was not on the budget committee last year, but I was a party of it. I'm on the budget committee this year. It was not presented for request for allocations for culverts last year or this year. And it was not in the highway engineers' 3 to 5 year plan to take care of these culverts. Now, all of a sudden, it's an emergency. We need to address them. I understand, I completely agree that they need to be addressed. Like I said, I'm a farm wife. We have to go several miles out of the way to avoid some of these bridges and culverts that are not, that it's not easy to get machinery across and past. Fuel bills, diesel fuel, we're paying extra diesel fuel, not just me, farmers all over the county. They do need to be addressed, but it's not something that we can just, I mean, we have to hold firm on what the full amount of the ARPA money is going to be used for before we make a commitment to do any of it. Oh, you can ask as many questions as you want, that's fine. I'm sorry, we can't. It's something that the commissioners should have done last year when they were aware of the understanding that the plans can change. The Delaware County, like I said, this is an excellent model that we should try to follow. They took into account other elected officials that they spoke with. They took into account taxpayers in the community's input, and it was something that everybody worked cohesively together to produce. And I think that that's what needs to happen in our county. We should be able to follow a model such as this so that we are all working together and all on the same page, and we all know from the get-go what the overall plan is. And I thoroughly appreciate you coming and expressing your concerns, because I concur with them completely. Like I said, farm wife. We farm a lot of acres in a lot of different directions. We run across these culverts and bridges all the time. They definitely need to be addressed. But it's something that, as a council, we have to take into consideration the full big picture. Culverts are a part of it, but there's also other issues that need to be addressed as well.
Councilman Wager.
Zader, I want to tell you, I'm so pleased that you came tonight, and I hope that when you see things around the county, you know, we're not able to get out every place and see all the things, and call it to the attention of the commissioners and of the council. Give us a call on the phone, and do come back to the council meetings. It was really a pleasure to have you here this evening. Thank you for coming. I believe you absolutely. Uh,
Absolutely.
And let me just say one additional thing. You're really good. Thank you.
There you go. I just have one more comment with regard to that. Oh, sorry. Back to-
If I can, when we did ask the engineer, the county engineer, if any of these culverts on his plan were emergencies, and there were 0 that were emergencies. And so I'm just going by the county engineers, and they had them rated, some of them were number 1s and some of them were number 2s that need to be addressed. And so there is, if we have, which I've talked to the commissioner since the last county council meeting, and we do have an issue that they're gonna come to us, I think, and talk to us about a bridge that had, a wooden bridge structure that needs, and it's gonna be emergency. We have funds for that. The funds that was being requested weren't for emergency. I just wanted to make sure you knew that, because we would address an emergency different than we would address a preventive issue. And so that's why I wanted to clarify that, because we asked that question to the county engineer at the time, are any of these emergencies? And they said if they're emergencies, then they have a 0 number, I believe was the correct, right indication. And the road shut down. So there, none of those that was on that list that night that we saw, of 220, I think, there were culverts on there. So I mean, that's what we try to do, and we do listen, and I appreciate you coming in and you strike a chord with me. I'm a 7th generation family farmer, so I understand that the need for the roads, and so but I also understand the position we're in with the budget. We have to take them as they come, and we're trying to do what Brenda, Councilman Wilson said, that we're trying to have the best usage of that ARPA money. But we do have emergency funds if we do need that as well. So if we have a culvert like that, just like Councilman Weger said, that if you do talk to, if you see one in disrepair that's an emergency, please let us know, and we will address it. Yeah, he's readily available. Larry Robinson's his name.
Yep. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
I just have one more issue
That's one
with that.
issue.
If anybody is watching any of our council meetings, I think, well, Budget Committee, I think 2 people were watching, but any of our council meetings over the past year, we've asked numerous times over the past year for the comprehensive plan before we'll approve any of the piecemeal projects that are coming up. So it's not like we are just saying no to be saying no. It's something that we've asked for and asked for and asked for and hasn't been provided to us. So, and we would love to be able to fund these projects, but we need to know the plan for the whole $20 million, and this is for the commissioners if they are interested in even seeing it.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.
Definitely.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that'd like to speak? Appears there's no one. Moving on, communications from elected officials, other officials, or agencies of the county. Councilwoman Wilson?
Okay, I'm on a roll here. Speaking of the ARP money and speaking of the request for some uses of that, the entrance to the annex that we've discussed numerous times. Whoa. I'm sorry. We're firing at the, okay. Anyway, it is something that we are taking seriously. We do understand the fear factor that's going on in the annex, I have a solution that I think should satisfy, even if we were to go with the plan that the $1.2 million for the addition and the bringing everything up to ADA standards, that will not solve the immediate urgent need that people have and the fear that they're having. That project, 6 months to a year before it is to completion, a way that could be solved, in my opinion, sitting on the budget committee, I know that both the commissioners and the sheriff office both have a line item for contractual services. We can close all entrances except for the south entrance, where the security office is located right now. They can hire an outside security firm who can sit at that door Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. They can scan people when they walk in the door. They can point people in the directions to the offices that they're looking for. Problem solved. You've got security for the building. All the other doors are shut. And it eliminates, for example, that was brought up, the recorder's office is the first line of attack. It eliminates that. It eliminates the congestion that it could cause for the restrooms at this end of the building. I know the sheriff could deputize someone to do the job too, but that would also put us in the same position that we're in, where they could be called out to other locations that are necessary. An outside firm could handle this. We could eliminate the availability for people to even bring bags that needed to be searched in, or they could set up a table that this security person could search bags for weapons or whatever they may have. I just think that is I think it's a good solution to the entire emergency problem that we have right now. And ARPA money doesn't have to be used for it.
So, council, am I taking this as one of your members is proposing appropriation additional and contractual labor for the commissioners and for maintenance, i.e. equipment? Taking that because there's no money for that to do that right now. So I guess you're proposing you're going to increase those budgets. Is that what I heard?
It's not necessarily what you heard. I just know that there's money in your budget for contractual services.
And we use it, Councilwoman Wilson, we use it. And there's differences, but there's no money for this.
Was this even a possibility? that you
I
thought of?
understand, but I'm telling you, there's no money for this. But if you appropriate that money, perhaps we can proceed down that level.
Maybe you need to do a study to find out how much that would cost, and we'll consider
I didn't
it.
say, I said we use contractual
I
for
understand.
different studies.
I understand, but we would need a number to appropriate.
Would you like that? I've asked for $200,000 for contractual labor. I don't think we'll use that much.
For a security guard,
Yeah.
$200,000 for a security guard to sit Monday through Friday.
We have 3 people at the juvenile center. I mean, you do the math. How many do you want here? I mean, I think that probably that's a high figure, but I think we could be.
I would think that's a high.
But if you'd allocate it, we don't have to spend all of it.
Okay. Okay.
Just laugh at all these things. They're
No,
serious things. People are
200,000
serious about this.
Oh, I understand.
Well, I don't know.
And I don't think that a $1.2 million entrance that's going to take a year to build is addressing the issue. The issue is an immediate issue that is.
Then
is-
immediately propose to increase those budgets, and we'll attack it.
200,000 is just a number you pulled out of the air, I'm assuming.
I'm saying that you have 3 people at the courthouse, you have 3 people over here. Those security people are probably making $40,000 a year with benefits. You probably got another $20,000.
I'm not
So
asking
that's
for a salary
$180,000 a
appropriation.
year. Oh, well, do you think that the security person is going to be any less money? And I just told you, if we don't spend that much money, we don't have to. But you just laugh and say we're going to spend it anyway.
No, I did not say we're going to spend it anyway. I said I would like
I don't think it's so
figures.
funny. I really don't.
I don't think it's funny either. I
Well-
think that if you come to us with doing some research to find out how much a security guard would cost, then we might consider that. And I'm sure it will be significantly less.
This
than-
was your idea. You
Yes, it was.
presented this idea.
Yes.
I asked you if you were going to fund it. That's all I asked. This was your idea.
Well, I'll get back to you next week on that.
And
I'll
are you
get
going to
some
share
numbers
this,
and get back with
the thing from Delaware County?
I said, right, here it is, here's your
There's my
copies.
blueprint. When were you going to share it with the commissioners?
Just now, I found it this afternoon. I've got copies for you right here. Would you like them?
I will get a copy.
Thank you. And for the record, I was just proposing that as an option that is would solve the immediate need that we have, that is an emergency situation because people in the annex are fearful. That would solve the emergent need. It doesn't, the $1.2 million plan that the commissioners presented doesn't solve an immediate need, because how long would that project take to complete? Mr. Commissioner?
The engineering is done, and I would guess that it would probably take 8 months to a year to get it done.
And how does that address the immediate need of
Well,
people
how
that are
about we do
fearful?
both? How about we address the need with the present clear thing? We do that while we're under construction.
The
How about that?
Present clear thing? What's the present clear?
Present clear problem that we've security for this annex. Why don't we do both?
Well, why would we need both?
As was stated with the proposal, there was building settling. There was different things that if we start to act on this, that we will have to become in compliance. There's grades that have to be adjusted to the building, and there's several other construction items once we touch that. So we don't have to touch that. I don't say that's it. I'm saying that's a way to address it. But once we address it, then we'll have to do it. So, but if your proposal is a private firm to do security here, I'd come back and give you the exact figures on those things. But we will need additional money. That's all I'm saying.
I hear you.
I had
it's not
a firm that wanted to be here tonight and talk to you about that.
And they didn't come, why?
I didn't ask them to come. I didn't know we were going to address that. It's not on the agenda, whatever. But
Well, I'm
I
just
will
looking
have them
for-
address it and get you the figures. What I'm saying is
Appreciate
are you
that.
prepared to, the money's not there.
I'm just presenting an option that would solve the immediate need and may eliminate the
Glad
need
you
to
brought
spend
it up.
$1.2 million.
Glad you brought it up.
Thank you.
Commissioner Morris, can we maybe, in the next several days, maybe you can reach out to that firm and get a proposal, what that might look like on an annual basis, to have them do something like that
Absolutely.
for us?
Absolutely. As I say, we can get it to competitive bid if you want.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Councilwoman Thies?
Something to make sure that we're in compliance, and I think Larry's the one that has the compliance book
Yes.
for ADA. Just making sure that if we change like some sort of structure, and not structure, because I know structure would qualify this to do some ADA stuff, but if we shift an entrance, just to make sure that we're still in ADA compliance, and that we have access down there, I think is gonna be really important. Because I don't know if, I mean, I'm not an expert in that, so I don't know if we were to shift that as a, main entrance point, if that would impact that.
Shift what?
So if we shifted, like, the main entrance down there, which is what I understand, we need to make contact, and I'm glad to make contact with Larry, I have no problem. But to make sure that if we put the entrance down there, like what
I'm
Brenda has
confused.
proposed, like if we move that to the main entrance, the south entrance is the main entrance, I just want to make sure we're still ADA compliant, is what I want to make
It's
sure.
got the same thing, same problems that
It's an
this one
entrance.
does.
It's
I
an
know,
entrance
I-
built
either way.
exactly
Well,
the
We
same.
just
I
lock
know,
this
and
door
I'm not-
instead of that one.
I'm not a lawyer and I'm not an expert, but if that's changing something, I just want to verify it, because the last thing we need is to have that.
Why would we change from this entrance as main entrance to that entrance? I'm confused. Why would we do
I
that?
think that's what Brenda had
Yeah, I
mentioned.
said we have the south door being the main entrance, that's where the security office is, and it eliminates the congestion problem that you talked about in the restroom. It eliminates the recorder's office.
Congestion at the restroom. I didn't know there was a congestion problem at the
That was
restroom.
something I read, that one of the reasons why we needed to expand out was to eliminate congestion at the entrance there.
I don't
for the
remember that.
restrooms. I didn't make it up.
I just want to make sure that we're ADA compliant and also that we have access and parking.
What I'm suggesting doesn't change anything other than unlocking that door, locking this one.
I would just like to have that
Yeah.
verified, because it's changing a major entrance.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's always been an entrance also.
Oh, okay.
It's-
It doesn't, okay, I'm just gonna stop.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. I just want, with all this talk about switching the entrances and all that, I want you to keep in mind, this is our election room. If they have to go to the south end to come in, that may hinder some of the voting. They've always been able to come in, and I get everything y'all are saying. I just wanted to remind you, election's right around the corner, and the last thing we need is people being confused on where they can come in to vote.
I
Just want to keep that in mind.
I understand. I'm wanting to address what I was
Right,
told was
the
an
immediate
immediate
problem,
emergency
sure.
problem.
I get that.
And
I just
wanna
wanted to
provide an
reiterate
option.
the fact of,
I totally
the
get that, too.
election is coming up, and
Yep.
this is our voting place for the
Yeah,
courthouse.
for sure.
So just keep that in mind. That's all I wanted to remind you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak at this time? Okay. Moving on, first reading by summary reference of proposed ordinances and resolutions. ROC 2022-39, additional appropriation 2022-30, Riley Fire Protection District, capital outlay. ROC 2022-40, salary ordinance 2022-17, and additional appropriation 2022-31, clerk, salary increases. And I'm going to add to the agenda here the ROC 2022-41, ordinance 2022-03. Yes, ordinance. No, just ordinance, just an ordinance. Ordinance 2022-03 for the council to consider for the reserve funds for calling and paying the jail bond off in 2029. Moving on, reports from committees. There are none. Resolutions and ordinances other than appropriations. There are none. Ordinances relating to appropriations. Additional appropriation 2022-30, ROC 2022-39, Riley Fire Protection District capital outlay. We have a representative here to speak for Riley Fire Protection District.
Good evening. My name is Matt McCullum, Fire Chief at Riley Fire Department. I'm just here if you guys have any questions about the additional appropriations. It's going for a down payment for a purchase of a new tanker. Currently, we're operating on 1993 1,800-gallon tanker, so it's time for a new one. It is. Yep.
He's just soft-spoken.
First time I've heard that. Thank you.
Say it was for the
For a new
tanker,
tanker,
like with
yeah.
the water.
Yeah, we're replacing a 1993 tanker, 1,800 gallons, and we're replacing it with a 2022 2,000-gallon Alexis tanker.
Any questions from council? Councilman Wilson?
Hi, I guess I haven't read all through that. Is there a reason why you're needing to replace it now, just because it's not high enough capacity for you?
It's been mechanical issues over the years, and it's just finally gotten to the point where we've had it fixed so many times, like the tank's been redone so many times that it can't be done anymore, and just the chassis itself.
Gotcha.
Safety issues also with the age.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman Thompson?
I think we've been asked this before, but you have to order that, correct?
Correct.
Do you know how long that takes?
Yeah, so normally, if you order one right now, it'll be put on a 2025 chassis, because everything is 2 years out. This was a demo that was just starting the process. We got there at the beginning where it starts the process, and we could purchase that now. So it's technically a demo, but when it comes off the line, it's ours. It's not going to go to the demo phase. So it kind of just it fell in our lap at the good time. So it's a regular tanker, just like any other apparatus. We just caught it at the beginning of the line.
Additional comments or questions from council? Thank you, Chief.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have salary ordinance 2022-17, ROC 2022-40, clerk, salary increases. And then also additional appropriation 2022-30, ROC 2022-40, clerk, salary increases.
Hello, again. Leanna Moore, Chief Deputy Clerk. I really don't have anything more to add to my letter, other than the fact that we did lose another person in the last, since I wrote this letter. So now we're up to 13 that we've lost already this year. And some of those are due to retirement and, just moving away. But to have this many in a short period of time has been very exhausting, to say the least. And we just kind of feel if we can at least break some sort of a wage barrier, that might help keep them. It doesn't bring it completely even with the courts and the prosecutor's office, but it's close.
Any questions or comments from council?
I guess I might have
Councilwoman Wilson.
I guess I might as well continue here. I'm on the Budget Committee,
Yeah.
and we've looked at these kinds of things. We, with inflation and everything the way that it's been, and the fact that we don't have our Baker Tilly study back yet, our hands are kind of tied. We had a request for 19 new employees, 11 of which were jail employees, that we can't fund. We can't do that. And we can't, I don't feel like, I mean, it breaks our heart because we would love to be able to address the issues of, especially the jailers, that we need the additional jailers. We'd love to be able to address these issues. I know you've got election coming up and you're gonna have to be doubling up on the work that everybody's doing with having lost these employees, but there were numerous requests for salary increases, and I just don't feel like as a council, without having the Baker Tilly compensation package back yet, our hands are tied. I just don't know what else we can do.
Well, the only thing I can say is that it's actually costing the county more money because we will have to employ more people to work a short amount of time for the elections. Everyone has to be trained. Now, that takes more time, more money. Our seasoned workers are taking higher paying jobs. People that's been with us 6, 7, 8 years in the clerk's office. Brad and I have been in there 5.5, almost 6 years now, and we're down to 3 original employees out of 38 in a almost 6-year period. That is an astronomical amount. And to try and continue to train over and over and over and over, it's very exhausting.
Sure.
And I understand the budget and the whole thing. Not quite sure why we haven't got the Baker Tilly study. I mean, that's another story for another day. But it doesn't make our jobs any easier.
Sure.
And
believe it,
having
our job is
people
not
come in
easy.
your office day in and day out, week after week, saying, I'm sorry, but this department's gonna pay me $5 more on the hour, I have to go. Okay, I agree, you have to go. That's what we're here for, we're here to make a buck. If we didn't need the money, none of us would be here. But for the clerk's office to have to continually train and train and train and train, it's just unnerving. And I know that we've talked about this many times, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about it. Hopefully we'll get the Baker Tilly study soon. I appreciate you all listening, and I know there's not a lot that we can do. We just have to keep asking.
I understand, and I totally appreciate it, and I feel your pain. We had several departments that had the same issue, and we just have to say.
But several departments don't do the election. That's what you
understand.
guys don't understand.
Oh, we
are
do
double
understand.
duty here. We have our day-to-day that we have to do every day. We have election that's an all-year project that we have to put so many people in every day. And for us to have to keep training people because they're going off to make better paying jobs, there's got to be something that the county can do to help the clerk's office retain employees.
Oh, believe me, we understand that you've got the election too, and we know you put in many hours to
Yep.
take care of that. We really do appreciate that. We just, without that Baker Tilly study, we're kind of stuck.
With your hands tied.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
But thank you for, wait a minute, I think,
Councilman Thacker.
Now, I'd like to ask if you could help me a little bit with this too, is I understand you're telling us, the situation, people going for more money. Have you done exit interviews with HR
Yep.
and
Not
documented
with
that?
HR. We do them within
Okay.
our
I
office.
think that would be beneficial for me as a council person to see that, to see the exit, if you could forward us the.
They all say it's not because we don't like our job,
Okay.
it's because we can make
Right,
$22
and I get
versus
that, and,
$18.
we saw some real, when we did go ahead and pay more money for the jailers, we did see a shift, and we did fill those positions. So, to me, I am sympathetic for that, and I'm interested in trying to help with that. I know that's been an issue ever since I came on anyhow, and I can't speak about it beforehand. And I am too disappointed the Baker Tilly. I do agree with council that, we have limitations. Now, you did mention that you're going to be hiring people for the election, and it's probably going to end up costing us. Now, at that.
It's all budgeted, though. That's
Yeah,
all
right, that's
budgeted.
what I'm getting at, and that's budgeted, but you're only limited what you can pay
Right.
them, right, as
Right.
well? Okay, and then if you have to, I'm making this assumption that during the election time, if you're shorthanded, then people are working more hours, that's costing more money in
Yep,
that
time and a
moment.
half.
So, yeah,
And
I,
our staff gets an unimaginable amount of overtime during the elections.
yeah,
Because we have early voting, 2 28-day vote centers, 2 7-day vote centers. We have our staff, work in each one of those vote centers. So we have to kind of shift around time, and if they work over, of course, then some of the vote centers are open till 6 o'clock,
Right. Yeah,
Like
and
the
like I say,
mall's
I
open from 10 to 6.
I just think it would
so-
help me if I could see that, and I know you put it in here in the letter, and I appreciate the letter, and I'd like to find some kind of way to help if possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Wager?
Leanne, we pay overtime, and you come back to us, you don't know how much overtime you're gonna have to work.
No, it varies from year to year, but this year, we're hoping to keep it at a minimal, but you never know. We're training all new people. Everyone that works the election, 180 people have to be trained. That takes extra time, and those are just taxpayers that, come in and want to work the vote centers. So we pay all them, and they get the $12.85 an hour, but our staff makes their hourly wage, so.
Does your staff gets overtime for working overtime?
Yes, they do.
Mr. President, why couldn't we're gonna have an election.
We certainly
We are
are.
gonna have an election.
It's coming
And
up.
we know we're gonna have to pay overtime. We don't know how much overtime we're gonna have to pay.
Right.
And we're gonna have to bite the bullet some way or another here. Now, this is a dumb time to not figure something out, to say we gotta go ahead and hire some people.
Yeah. And I really think the biggest problem is retaining the people that we have. I mean, that's been the problem. It's just, there for a while, 3 weeks in a row, I had one person from our staff every week come in and say, Leanna, I'm sorry, but I've accepted another position. So, that's another full-time position that has to be filled. I'm currently, right now, in need of 2 full-time people and 3 part-time. So, and I can't get part-time workers. We've had that discussion before. I can't hardly get part-time workers unless it's just for the election.
This is just not reasonable to just say we can't figure this out. I mean, we've got to figure out some way to keep people here that we don't have to train.
It gets very frustrating, especially when, like I say, you've got people that have been in the office 5, 6, 7 years, and then, they seem to be very happy and like their jobs, but as soon as something else comes up that pays, $3 or $4 or $5 more on the hour, and I can't blame them
Now,
for
$3 or
that.
$4 or $5 an hour, that's a
Yeah.
lot of money.
That's a
So,
lot of
so
money.
where are we gonna get people, what are we gonna do if we can't come up with that kind of money?
Right. We just have to keep plugging away the best we can, and, I mean, that's what we do. We just work
Well, if we came up with $3 an hour, could you get anybody? I mean,
Sure.
You
Sure.
think you could?
I'm sure we could. But it's just the thing of, you know, I don't know. It's an ongoing problem.
Jeez. I mean, does anybody have any ideas? We can't just let this float and float and float. You guys are gonna be worse up a creek next week. And the next week.
Yeah. I've got a, thing up on Indeed, you know, on the county website, employment thing. I've got one for part-time up right now. I've got to put another one up for full-time because the guy that, has only been with us 6 months found another job. And, so that's another full-time position I might as well just keep it up on the website all the time, honestly. Instead of putting it up and taking it down, putting it up and taking it down. Because I no more take it down, 2 people leave. Put it back up, fill them spots, take it down, 1 or 2 more take off. You know, it's just a constant problem.
That's one of these.
And this is just me kind of being clueless about, and I should know more about it with longevity. I know we have longevity within the county. Does that matter if you change positions within the county?
No.
It doesn't?
It stays the
Okay, because
same.
I know for us, like with ours, we have longevity within the schools, but like if you stay within your building or do
Right.
different things like that, and maybe that's something even, I don't, that might be a commissioner thing because it's a policy, but like the way our longevity works, if you stay in your position or your building, that kind of position, it's better. I don't know, just
Yeah.
something. But I mean, I think, you know, in looking at things too, and I don't want you to think there's no hope. I mean, the hope is eventually when we get that, and I agree, we all wanted it like
Sure.
months ago.
Sure.
That part of our issue is if we get that back and we see that we are way off, that we're gonna have to make up some of the difference
Sure.
salary-wise anyway. So I think that's kind of why we're in a little bit of a holding. I believe in kind of talking to our budget people, we talked, 2024. I know that didn't address it now, but I also don't want you to think there's no
hope in
no
the
hope
future.
either. I know, because I think that's worse.
Yeah.
But when we look at that too, but just, you know, those are, I think, maybe a couple things to
Okay.
consider too, and possibly too, you know, I agree with Todd about, or Councilman Thacker about the exit interviews. Even sometimes having an outside party having it, you might get some different feedback, like through HR. Just
Sure.
might be something to do, especially if it's employees, you know, within, I know it's hard because we
Yeah.
all kind of know each other, but I think it's important to get, you know, if there's something we can improve,
Sure.
that we need to know how to do that.
And we do ask them that, but like you say, with us being their employer, they may
Yeah.
not be as willing to tell us if there's something going on,
Right.
you know, that we maybe not know about or something.
Okay.
But,
I agree.
anything else?
Councilman Thompson?
I think, as one councilman, I'd like to see exit interviews. The employees that you've lost this year, I didn't get a chance to speak to all of them, but I did speak to some of them. They paint a different picture.
Really?
I don't think all of them have left for higher pay, for whatever reason. I mean, that's whatever. I'd like to see the exit interviews for the reason why they did leave. But I think in my opinion, where the council may have messed up was going back almost a year ago with WIS and Baker Tilly. I, as one council member, had no idea we were supposed to ask WIS to come
Sure.
back and do their
I
evaluation.
remember that.
And I think when we realized that, we all realized it at the same time, and that's what we were willing to do. Department heads, you were in here, several
Yep.
other heads were in here, and decided to go with Baker Tilly. Now, the unfortunate part of all that is, like Councilwoman Wilson said, our hands are tied. Doing the budget committee stuff this year, you know, she's right, we had 18, 19 new employees asked for by different department heads. 11 of those are jailers. We're just coming out of a lawsuit with Vigo County Jail and all
Right.
that. So, I mean, that's pretty important for us. And unfortunately, until Baker Tilly come back, we can't do it. It's not that we don't want to, we just can't do it. So, you know, again, like I started this, I would like to see exit interviews because some of those have a completely different reason why they had left.
Yeah, I know two people that left, not because of that, but the other ones, I don't.
And I
think
did
it
talk
was
to them
for
all. I'm not
money.
saying they all
Yeah.
had a different, but the ones I spoke with, it was different.
Mm-hmm.
But regardless of all that, I think the holdup on Baker Tilly, and I don't know as a council where we go from here, what we do, but I mean, even if it comes back, I think there's problems with what's coming back right now with department heads and not understanding what it is. The numbering system, whatever
Right.
it is, I have no clue.
Yeah, that was
I
a little
haven't-
confusing.
I haven't seen it.
When we
And,
got that.
you know, I think we're stuck right now where, you know, Baker Tilly comes back, do we stick with them or do we go back with WIS? No idea.
It's a shame that we have to spend that kind of money to figure out something that should be able to be handled within, but I'm not on that committee, I don't know anything about that, so kudos to you guys for doing the best that you can do. I'm just here fighting for my clerks. I mean, honestly, they work very hard every day. I know all the departments work hard, but the deputy clerks have more on their plate with elections, and I think that gets missed a lot. And they don't get near the credit that they deserve for doing that. So just to keep that in mind, and thank you guys all again for your time and letting me speak tonight.
Thank you. So next, we'll have the item that was added to the agenda. Ordinance 2022-03, ROC 2022-41, council reserve funds for calling and paying the jail bond off in 2029. Karen. So everyone should be getting a handout sent down. I recognize that you're just seeing this for the first time now. As you know, we're not acting on anything tonight. Present this tonight, then offer time for discussion. So what you have before you is ordinance number 2022-03. I will not read the whole thing. I'll just read the bold type at top. Ordinance of the County Council of Vigo County, Indiana, to reserve funds from special purpose income tax revenues and jail income tax revenues for the purpose of funding an option to purchase the new county jail facility in 2029 and calling and paying off the bonds issued in regard thereto. And you can look at the ordinance there. See there's a lot of whereases that are present. It's outlined what the ordinance information details. Again, I'm not going to read the ordinance to you. You have that before you. The auditor's office has it as well for record. But what I would say, for those of us that were on the council in 2018, when these taxes were implemented, there's two of us that remain. So in 2018, we implemented the taxes for the jail. We had the special purpose tax, we had the correctional and rehabilitative facilities tax, the public safety tax, and the PSEP tax, which increased the local income tax to 2%. All told, it was an increase. With the special purpose, it was a 0.25% increase. The lit correctional and rehabilitative facilities was a 0.20% increase. We had public safety tax, .20, PSAP, .10. There were many meetings before we approved this tax in 2018. There was much discussion about it, and at the time, the council that was present had essentially offered somewhat of a pledge if there was an opportunity to pay the jail bond off in advance of 2039, we'd in fact look at doing that. At the time, the revenues, we believed that they were going to be around $5 million to $5.2 million. We're seeing now it's closer to $6 million and anticipated in years to come to be over $6 million. So with that, what I'm proposing with this ordinance is the council adopt a plan to take additional revenues that aren't allocated, aren't set aside for the bond payment out of lit special purpose and lit correctional rehab, take those extra revenues with a schedule and put it into a debt service reserve. One for the special purpose and one for the correctional and rehabilitative facilities. So each of them would have a separate fund, a separate spot for the debt service reserve to be placed. In looking at this in 2024 and beyond, the estimated amount for the special purpose is $6.2 million annually in revenue, and for the correctional rehabilitative facilities, about $5 million. So with that, once you pay your bond payment, once you add additional funds to the debt service reserve, roughly in July 2029, you have $19.47 million from special purpose fund, which is exclusively for payment of the new facility, and roughly $10 million from the lit correctional rehabilitative facilities fund. So with those two and a $4.1 million of debt service reserve that we set aside when we started this bond process, it puts you at $33.57 million. A mouthful, right? $33.57 million. Now it would allow us to do a couple things. It would allow us to pay off the jail bond in July of 2029. It would also allow us to eliminate the lit special purpose tax for the remaining 10 years. With that elimination, and this is a conservative estimate, if we were to estimate starting in 2024 that the lit special purpose would bring in $6.2 million on an annual basis, and that did not ever increase, which is very doubtful. Those revenues should increase over time. But if it stayed constant for those 10 years, we're looking at a $62 million savings to the taxpayers by eliminating that tax 10 years early. So, again, this is a plan that we discussed as a council in 2018 of pursuing if the revenue stream allowed us to do that, if it looked like it was feasible to do that. Councilman Thompson and I have been speaking about this as he's been the head of the budget committee. We have talked about this for several months, and the more we talked about it, the more we think that now's the time to do it. And I think everybody could appreciate that we'd all like some tax relief. Although this may not be for 10 years, it still is less than 10 years. I guess it's a 10-year early call on this, but you're about 7 years out, and we wouldn't see this tax again, theoretically. So with that, I'd open the floor for any questions or comments.
No, I'm not gonna be quiet. My mic doesn't work. I'm gonna borrow David's here. Y'all know I love a plan, and I think this is amazing and awesome that you guys put this together. It's a wonderful plan that will save so much money to the taxpayers. And I'm a fiscal conservative, obviously, but wonderful, wonderful plan.
Councilman Thompson?
I'm not going to speak for both of us, but I know when we started looking at the numbers, I was astonished by the actual numbers. Setting forth this ordinance will obviously save the county taxpayer tax money. It's a great opportunity for our community. When you see in the 10 years after this loan's paid off, we will save the taxpayer $62 million. That's a giant number. Of that $62 million, where's my dollar amount right here? $5,441,000 is interest alone. So being able to save that is, I think it's a great opportunity for our community.
Councilwoman Thies?
Looking at taxes and our surplus was something I had talked to the committee about, because I am concerned, there's a point when we have money saved. It was something I said, we've either need to make sure we're spending stuff, and I know LIT's a little bit different, but we either need to be spending and doing things to improve the quality of life and situations here in Vigo County, or look at tax cuts. So I am pleased to see a tax cut, even if it is down the road, just so people, are aware of it. I also want to make sure, though, that we look if there's any consequences to this and how it could impact other areas, because I know, obviously a lot of lit was for the jail. Is this going to impact any other safety areas if we put more money funneled that way? I don't think it will, but I think we have to look cautiously. Is there any pros and cons to anything?
No,
And
it's.
that's what I want to make sure.
And I don't know, you may or may not be aware, but the special purpose tax
Right.
can only be used for the jail.
Right, yeah, and I
So
knew
that's-
that one, so.
Right. So, no, it does not impact the lit correctional rehab. It doesn't impact the public safety tax or the PSAP either.
So is this a result, again, having been here since that had already passed, is this a result from what you said of we're just collecting more than we anticipated?
I think the revenue's a little bit higher than what we anticipated, yes. From what I recall, in 2018, and a lot of things happened since then, obviously, but it was 5 to 5.2 million is what we were being told at the
Told
time
what to
the annual
anticipate.
revenues would be just for the special purpose.
Okay. And, I appreciate that you gave this to it. I hadn't heard about this, even though I was on the budget committee, so, I am glad. It was one of the things we had talked about, was looking at some of the taxes, because that's always a concern to me, and using our money wisely. So I appreciate, looking at this and giving us time to kind of go through it.
Any other comments from council? If there are no additional comments, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion to adjourn by Councilman Thompson, second by Councilwoman Wilson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.